weekly media availability the week of January 27th, 2025. Roadrunners are coming off a 64-53 victory over Tulsa last week. This week, they'll travel to Tampa to take on South Florida on Wednesday, and on Saturday, they will host Temple for Rowdy Rodeo. Coach, if you could start us off with an opening statement, and then we'll open it up to questions using the raise hand function.
Yeah, I can't wait for Rowdy Rodeo on Saturday, first of all. That was one of my favorite games last year. Just looking forward to the week ahead. Obviously pleased with our effort against Tulsa and hoping we can build on that. I thought we had a much more solid performance on both ends of the floor. And, Tampa will be a tough trip for us. They're a really, really good basketball team that, was projected to win the league and go deep in the tournament, actually. So a big challenge for our team and an actual big week ahead period.
Jerry?
Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
Just wanted to check with you. You've had some time between your last game to kind of prepare and everything. How have you managed that that off weekend, and how's the team right now? Just kind of had some days to kind of focus on yourself, I guess.
Yeah, for sure, Jerry. I mean, it came at a good time. We had some kids dinged up a little bit. Fatigue was starting to set in just from the length of the schedule, travel, all of that, school starting again. So I think it was a good time for us to push a reset button. The kids got acclimated a little bit to going back to school. It's always a kind of a learning curve, I think, when they all start back to school again, especially for the freshmen that have never really experienced the Christmas break and then back into classes again. So I think we've settled in, and just a time to take a deep breath and maybe have an extra day off, but also get back to some basics, which you don't necessarily have time to do all of the time because you're constantly prepping for a game. So I thought it was healthy for our team and good for them.
Haley?
Hey, Coach. So
Hi.
speaking of prepping for teams, you're on a 10-0 run. You guys are 8-0 in the AAC, and they just posted about it this morning. So I'm wondering if there's anything that you change in your prep, or are you finding that what you are doing with the team right now is working out for you guys and you're going to stick with it?
I mean, we pretty much prepare the same. I mean, I'm kind of a creature of habit myself, and I think the team is also. So we prepare very consistently, to be honest with you. I think the only thing that you try to do a little bit different this time of the year and on into February is you try to keep them fresh, first of all, mentally and physically. And I think that you try to find some different ways to maybe change up your routine a little bit so that they don't feel bored or feel like things are getting monotonous until you get to late February where they can sort of see the light that it's almost over. So we're getting into that stretch where it gets a little bit, I call it the February grind, and we're about to get into that. But yeah, I mean, we prepare pretty consistently, and you try not to change a lot about your routine.
Jerry?
Yeah, Coach, do you sense that among your players, do you feel like this game coming up Wednesday has sort of a big game feel to it in practices and whatnot?
I was curious if they would come across that way, and to be honest with you, they didn't look a lot different, which is, I think, a good sign that they're approaching this game the same as they approached Tulsa, and it's a different routine on the road, so, I haven't felt like we haven't played well on the road. I think their habits are kind of who they are at this point, and I'm not sure that they are approaching this game much differently than they have any of the other ones that we've played. I think they're all big. I think you can clearly see that anybody can beat anybody on a given night, so I think it would be a mistake to treat one game bigger than the other.
Haley?
And Coach, kind of talk about your players once again. I would like to know, I've been with the school for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching the girls play for 2 years. And of course, Jordan Jenkins comes out on top most seasons, but it seems this year that you really have a stacked team, that even as writers, we're able to cover so many of your players these days, because they're all really putting up big stats. We have Negron, your new transfer, and she just came in as a leader. She came in swinging. And I'm wanting to know if you can give us some reasons as to why that is. Why is there so many players that stand out this season as to compared maybe to 2 years ago?
Growing up, I mean, they've just grown up in the program. Obviously Nina didn't, but when you look at all of the rest of the team, most of them have just matured. They've put time in, they've improved, they understand the system, so they're more confident, I think, in what the expectations are. But I think it's just they've just they've gotten better as basketball players. I mean, it's a tribute to them. I mean, they get in the gym, they work at their games. They worked all summer, and you can definitely see across the board. I mean, obviously, I'm not talking about the freshmen because they're new and they just got here, and Nina came with who she is for sure, and she's been a huge added addition for us. But I do think that you're right in a sense of there's more contributions from people, and more people have matured. I mean, if you look at Adara and where she is right now, I mean, she's really, I think, starting to really come into her own right now. And I could just go down the line at how many players have improved and are more sure of what the expectations are now.
Jerry? Coach, what concerns you most about South Florida? They've played a pretty tough schedule. They beat Duke at home earlier this year. Got 2 or 3 pretty outstanding players. What is there anything in particular that jumps out about them that you're most concerned with?
I think their transition game is really, really good, and it's a concern of mine. And just the way that they move offensively. But I think that if you could flip that around, it's their defense that has, I mean, in my opinion, just even statistically, it's improved quite a bit since last year. And I think that as equally tough as they are on the offensive end, they've proven to be the same on the defensive end. So, it could be an ugly defensive battle. Won't surprise me if that's not what it is. Nothing really in particular jumps out at me other than they're just a very solid basketball team on both sides of the ball.
All right, well, I guess that wraps things up. Thanks, everybody.
Thank y'all.